At some point, you had a pretty long, glorious beard there, Andrew. A good, Viking esque red beard. But I've noticed here lately, it's been a bit more trimmed up. Is this a conscious effort? Is something to do with it being summertime? What's the deciding factor of your facial hair?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Your beard used to be much longer than it currently is.
Did it?
Am I crazy? Yeah. No.
My brother has a much longer beard. I've never felt like my beard's been that crazy.
Interesting.
So I literally go in to get it cut. I go to Floyd's barber shop and I'm just like, do this with the hair and then like take a little bit, like the beard. I'm always just like, just clean it up, taking the edges, clean it, taper it down a little bit. So like, it's really kind of at the whim of whatever the person is doing. And yeah, I'm just kind of like, all right.
That's the amount of thought that goes into your.
Yeah, there's really no more deeper. There's really no more deeper thought there.
Well, this is a world that I know nothing about. And obviously, this is a podcast. People can't see me, but I'll just tell you, Andrew, I haven't shaved in weeks, and this is it. This goatee. This is how it grows in. This is all that grows. I have the mustache right now. I normally don't, but I'm gonna be Luigi for Halloween, so I figured I'd go authentic with the stash. So I'm letting it grow in, but this is it. I don't shave. This is all I get. So even if I wanted the big, mane like beard, it's just not in the genes for me.
That's unfortunate.
I don't know. Is it? You like having a beard? It seems like a hassle.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'm
There's people who go like crazy taking care of their beards. They they go like, every day they like groom it perfectly. Like my goal with my beard is to not have to do that because I'm lazy. I just don't want to. So like the most I do is you have to like shampoo and condition it occasionally just because it is hair. But like then I have just like a standard like beard balm, I guess, that I don't even use all the time. I only use it if it's like I need it to be like under control for a day when I know that it's been a little out of control. But yeah, by and large, I'm aiming to do as little work as possible. So I know there are people who like go nuts and they're like, oh man, you got to do the oil, you got to do this, you got to do that, and I'm just like, it's a lot of words. I'm just not going to do that. So
I'm literally scrolling through pictures of you on my phone to see how much longer it got. It's been a little longer, not too ridiculous, but I don't know if it was a conscious effort.
I'm just confused. I was like, what are you talking about?
Have you ever been tempted to grow it longer?
Sometimes, but I try to, I got to keep some semblance of professionalism for the job, but overall, mostly I just, no. Because when it starts getting much longer, that's when it like requires more work. Like you have to like actually like put more effort into it to stop it from just kind of like getting all frayed. Because I still get like split ends on this thing sometimes, just the way it is. And so like you got to be really careful, and especially as it gets longer, then you have to just more and more upkeep. Same with long hair. I mean, like when you have longer hair, you got to take more. It requires more work than shorter hair, generally speaking.
I'm aware.
And like as somebody who also used to have long hair, you get it. But that's the time I don't think you remember, is I used to have long hair.
Since we've known each other, you had long hair?
I don't think since we've known each other.
No. But I've seen like, skinny high school pictures of you, or maybe shortly after, where it's a little longer. But how long did your hair get? What's the longest you've had your hair?
Past the shoulder.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Learn something new every day, Andrew.
I started thinning out in 2011, 2012, and I was like, okay, I'm being sent I'm being sent a very clear message.
Did that coincide with you deciding to grow a beard? Was it like compensating?
No, I've had a beard pretty much since I left high school. By and large, I haven't shaved this one off in. I don't think I've shaved the beard off completely since like 2012. But I've always had like some form of facial hair. I'd occasionally shave it clean, but like by and large, I've had a beard for a long time. But it used to be pretty short. The longer beard, as it is now, I guess that's within the last 6 or 7 years. Yeah, I have. always, basically, once I left high school, I grew a beard. I was like, yeah, I don't want to not have this. So.
All right. Well, this was the first entry in our men's grooming corner. Thanks for joining us. If you want more editions, let us know in the comments. Theme song.
We're not talking about the best of them. We're just talking about the rest of them.
Not the worst parts, but the best parts. And the best parts we have. The best of the rest.
Hello and welcome to Best of the Rest. My name is Chris Logan, and I am joined as always by my half-human, half-alien DNA blueprint co-host, Andrew Williams. Say something to the listeners, Andrew.
Welcome.
Each week, we take a second look at a movie that was poorly received upon release and challenge ourselves to only talk about the things we like and what the movie does well. It's Sci-Fi Horror Month, and this week we are talking the 1995 film Species. And I'm about to ask you about your history with the movie, but you just sent me a text message of you with long hair. I have never seen you with long hair. Wow, this is like pretty much as long as my hair was before I cut it off. It's pretty long. And here, the picture you sent me, Andrew, it's like it's just hanging down past your shoulders.
Yep.
Were you ever a ponytail guy, bun guy,
Yeah.
tied back at all?
Did ponytails, never really did anything else with it.
Yeah.
Once I could tie it back, I did.
I mean, especially being in Houston, you got to get it off your neck sometimes. And
Yeah,
it gets gross.
It's bad.
All right.
Wow. It's
Wow.
just an easy thing to do. You just tie it back, and then you don't have to worry about it.
All right. Well, I'm going to send this over to friend of the show, my wife, so she can enjoy it as well. Andrew, what is your history with the movie we are discussing today? Species. Did you see this? Yeah, you didn't see it in theaters. You were like 9 years old. I don't think so. Did you maybe catch it on cable in some sort of edited form? Did you see it at all before this week preparing for this podcast?
I don't think I have ever sat down and watched this movie from start to finish until this podcast. I've definitely seen parts of this movie and very particular subreddits dedicated to very specific things.
Sure.
There have definitely been clips of this that were shared widely for a variety of reasons, all of which are completely wholesome and not at all troubling. But I don't know that I've ever sat and watched the whole movie before. But I've definitely know about it. I know its legacy. I know its history. We've mentioned it on the show before for a variety of reasons. But I have never sat down and watched it all the way through. Not something that has been a huge part of my life in pretty much any regard. And not something that I've felt the need to go back and refresh myself on.
I'll talk about my history with the movie, but I sent the picture to a friend of the show, my wife. Her response: "The glow up y'all went through is wild," which I think is a compliment ultimately. And she also adds,
compliment.
She says, "I absolutely believe this Andrew knows everything about every comic book."
He still does. He just used to too.
Wonderful. Let's see. First off, our theme this month, I guess we're just going with sci-fi horror. I mean, it's October, it's spooky month. We like to be on brand here. So we wanted to do the, specifically sci-fi horror. But I think these are all 90s movies we're covering this month, right? I guess our theme is really 90s sci-fi horror, which seems to be like its own subgenre basically, but I am so excited to dive through these. Species I did not see back in the day other than maybe parts on TV, and this is a movie that you're just aware of. You know the general idea.
Yeah.
The alien is a hot naked woman. But I never really watched it as a kid, but I have seen it before. I watched it within the past 10 years. So not super recently, but let's say, I don't know, let's say 10 years ago. Sometime as an adult, I sat down, I watched this movie. I've always thought it was a good time, and not just for like the obvious reasons we're kind of dancing around. I think this movie has a lot to offer, and I was excited to jump into it for the podcast. Rewatched it this week. I still quite enjoy a lot of things in this movie, and I'm excited to break it all down. But first, let's set the stage here. The movie was released July 7th, 1995. It's made on a budget of $35 million. At the box office, it brings in $113.3 million. Critically, it doesn't exactly get glowing reviews, just a 42% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. I am genuinely shocked to see the audience score is lower on this one. 31% audience score for a movie released in 1995. 20 years later, people are logging in to leave a negative review about Species on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't get it, Andrew. This movie has its fans. It's generally well received. I think like no one's like praising it as like a sci-fi gem. But people are like, yeah, it's like a trashy, fun, good time creature feature. That's kind of the pulse I've always got on this. So I'm shocked to see such a low audience score. And this has, it spawned sequels, which doesn't necessarily mean the movie's super popular, especially once your sequels start going like straight to sci-fi, but clearly there's some kind of audience there. So I don't know. I was shocked to see the low audience score, but I just want to look at these numbers as a whole and just, appreciate this bygone era. $35 million movie. I mean, we've talked a lot about the $30 million movie. This is basically one of those. It's a little bit more, but a micro budget today. You make a movie for 30, 35 today. That's like an indie film with maybe one notable star, right? This has like plenty of known actors at the time. It's got great special effects throughout. It doesn't feel small budget, but it's low risk. Like you just get enough people, 113.3 million worldwide. Like that's good, but no studio movie release today would be happy with that. But when you only invest $35 million, that's a great return on investment. You spawn a franchise, you got your, it's not even counting VHS sales and rentals that are going to come after that. Like this is what we lost, people. Like, regardless of how you feel about this movie, the fact that this economy existed produced just a thing we don't get anymore. Not even straight to streaming. I know sometimes people say that $30 million is just the streaming movies now. It's not the same. It's not this.
No, it's not. It's the industry changes. Obviously, it always has. Like you realize that like home video is also something that like, early movies didn't have home video. Like it wasn't a thing. Like you couldn't, like if you saw a movie in the 60s, you weren't buying it to watch later at home. Seeing it in the theater was the only way to do it. And so at that point, when all you have is the theater, but also you have it's been an interesting evolution to watch, and especially something that I think studios don't realize what they've done. We've talked about this before, but just in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, going to the movie theater, that was how you saw movies. And there was no other way to do it. And so, when you talk about like feeling the need to go to the theater, which is a big thing that studios are struggling with now, like back then you didn't have a choice. If you didn't watch it in the theater, you didn't watch it.
Yep.
It didn't happen. And then obviously as you get the dawn of television, you start getting the idea that, oh, maybe we can show movies on television. But even then, it's still at the whim of when the television channel is showing the movie. So you either have to plan to be like, oh, NBC's showing Citizen Kane tonight at 6 p.m. And so it's like, oh, we got to be home at 6 p.m. to watch it. Otherwise, you're not seeing it. There's no VCRs, no ability to capture it and rewatch it back later. So there's this urgency that's around movies for the longest time that's not worried about home video, that's not worried about any of that, because it's not a thing. You don't have to worry about people just waiting to watch it at home later, because that's just not even a thing. And then obviously the dawn of home video is interesting, because I can almost assure you there was discussions from movie theaters and studios about like the movie theaters being concerned. It's like, oh, well, the ability to rewatch movies later, that's going to impact our bottom line, isn't it? So that's why you initially had such a long window between when a movie was put in theaters and when it got released on
It was
home
like
video.
genuinely
You know?
a full year. Like it was
Sometimes,
like you had to
yeah.
wait.
Like if it was a summer blockbuster, you were lucky maybe if it was ready for Christmas. Like if you were lucky and it was popular enough, maybe it was ready for Christmas. But now it's a completely different frontier. And so in the 90s, you still live in this world where like you're releasing a movie in theaters and you're getting a good long window before it hits home video just to really squeeze as much juice out of that theatrical run as you can. And then obviously it hits home video, and that's a whole other wave of revenue for the movies too. And you hear people talk about that like a movie like Species, I guarantee you this movie makes a ton in home video and rentals after it comes out and it's a completely different model. And now we're in this model where not just it's actually even more baffling in ways where like the physical release takes like 3 months, but the digital release takes like 6 weeks. You've got digital releases that are happening sometimes 2 or 3 weeks after a theatrical run when it bombs and it doesn't do well. And then a physical release comes, like Fantastic Four is coming out next week, and that'll be about 3 months. And so even physical releases now, it's 3 months tops. And that's been the standard for a while, I think, 3 months for a physical release. But, that era of, like you said, the mid-budget movie that makes a decent box office haul that then makes double that in home video, like that era is gone. And so it means that they're basically shooting for the fence. They're aiming for the fences every time they release a movie now. And if it doesn't, then they just dump it on the streaming, and they're like, hopefully it makes some money. And like it's gotten to the point where the box office is all anybody focuses on now. And even then, you're dealing with I don't know if apathy is the right word, but just like there's so many people now who are like, it'll be on streaming in 6 weeks. Just wait till then. Like, watch it at home.
Like if they made
like
Species today, it would be such a big spectacle. The fate of the world would be in the hands by the end of it. There'd probably be a sky portal. Like it would have to be this big, massive event movie versus this, which is like the stakes are so low in this movie. I mean, the fate of the world is still kind of at stake, but it never feels like the Earth's about to be destroyed. It's just this small team of people, these character actors and one alien, and we'll get into it, but it's I get
it's a different time. It's
time.
It was, and obviously some of that's just the nature of, like I said, things change, things shift, things move, but also some of it, like the general theater goer apathy right now, that's the studio's fault. They did that to themselves. And I have no problem saying that out loud, but like you made it unnecessary to go to the theater, and now your box office numbers have crashed and you don't know how to fix it. And it's like, well, like Fantastic Four was a bit interesting because it got good reviews, made like 500 million worldwide, did decently well enough, but like people were like thinking that was going to be like $1 billion movie, and it just wasn't. It just didn't get there, even with good reviews and good word of mouth. And that's the world now. Like, you can make a good movie that's well regarded, and you're still going to have a huge chunk of that audience that would have gone and seen it in the theater is just going to wait for home. So it's unfortunate. This box office is interesting. I was looking at that opening weekend. Species places number 2 behind Apollo 13, which I think is Apollo 13 in its second week of release at that point, making 19.6 million. Species debuting with 17.1 million. Now, coming in at number 3, a movie I forget exists. First Night. I don't know if you've ever heard of this.
First Night. Not Black Knight with Martin Lawrence.
No.
First Night. I'm not sure I know this one.
So it's the epitome of a 90s movie that they wouldn't make today. Absolutely. It is a medieval Arthurian legend movie.
I'm looking at the cover. I do remember seeing this on, Blockbuster shows.
Sean Connery is King Arthur, Richard Gere is Lancelot, Julia Ormond is Guinevere. Just a wild, a top heavy $50 million, like this is the movie your parents go watch because it's the movie for adults. somehow still makes $127 million in the 90s. And also rounding out this top 10, we've got Pocahontas in its fourth week, still making $10 million. We got Batman Forever in its fourth week, making $9 million. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in its second week, making another about $6 million. Judge Dredd in its second week, making another $5 million.
Yes,
And then
three
we round
movies,
out-
4 movies now that we've covered in the box office weekend.
And then rounding out our top 10 are The Bridges of Madison County, Congo, and Casper. So actually 5.
6.
Did we do Casper?
We did Casper
We did
and
Casper,
Congo.
we did Congo, Judge Dredd, Power Rangers, Batman Forever, and now Species. So 6 of the top 10 movies the week Species came out, we've covered on this show. It's a solid first week for Species. The second weekend drops to 10 million. That's actually a pretty good. That's like a 40% drop. That's actually a pretty good week-to-week holdover. It is upset by new releases Under Siege 2 and 9 months. But Apollo 13 keeping that number 1 for the third week in a row there. And then by the time we get to its third week, it drops to 7 million, which is still kind of an insane holdover. That's only like a 30% drop. It is Apollo 13 holds on to number 1 for the fourth week in a row. And then new release Clueless pushes Species down to number 5 behind 9 months and Under Siege 2, which I'm just shocked Under Siege 2 did that well. But and then Free Willy 2 also entering the fray there. And then even in the fourth week, like still holding into the top 10 despite new releases Waterworld and The Net. I don't know if you remember The Net, which is one of those weird, like, scary internet movies.
Yes,
That was
yes.
another big thing in the late 90s. And then Operation Dumbo Drop entering in at number 6. And then it finally, in its fifth week of release, drops out of the top 10. Pushed there by new releases. Something to Talk About, Babe, and Bushwhacked. Bushwhack at its opening weekend coming in at exactly number 10. So
I don't even think of Bushwhacked as being a movie that was in theaters.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it should have been in theater. Like
Yes.
It feels like even by 95, we should have known Daniel Stern was just not a leading man for movies.
But we all rented
but
that movie. We all saw it. You know.
We all saw it. We've all seen Bushwhacked, and if you say you haven't, I know you're lying to me. But this week to week for Species is that, like, the first week drop is 41%, the second week is 29%, and then after that, there's a pretty steep drop off in that fourth weekend. Waterworld comes out and definitely takes some air out of the room, and Waterworld kind of takes that number 1 spot for the rest of the run.
But yeah, this movie has some legs. I mean, it's definitely got some.
It has
There's
some
clear
legs.
like
It
word
has
of mouth happening
clear-
there.
It has multiple sets of legs, Chris.
Yes,
It has
very good
Natasha's
legs, very nice legs,
and then these financial legs
and
as well.
you know,
So,
guys around the water cooler at work being like, yeah, "There's boobs in this. You should go
Yeah.
see it."
Apparently, yeah, we'll talk more about that, I guess. But like, apparently, that was like a big thing when the movie was coming out. That people were like, "Man, you heard about this?" And I was like, "Dude, there's been naked people in movies before. Like, this has happened. Like, it's been a thing. Like,
Especially the early '90s. It was a horny time for cinema.
right? Like I said, we've discussed before that there is an entire subgenre of movies in the '90s that are X person gets horny. Like
Yes.
that's basically the plot. Michael Douglas did a lot, but a lot of people did those. Like it was not
Yeah,
hard to
Richard
find
Gere had a few for sure.
for definitely. It's like, guys, you got to stop getting horny. Like, or at least if you are, like, handle it normally. Like, just find a normal person and have a good time. But yeah, I wish I'd done this for more of the movies we did. Actually looked at like what it was competing against when
It's
it came out
fun.
in the box
It's fun
office.
to
'Cause
look
these
at.
are like weird little snapshots in time.
Let's take a look at the creative team here. Something rare for our show and just for movies in general. 1 credited writer and 1 director. I mean, there's normally 1 director, but just 1 person getting sole writing credit, and that person is Dennis Feldman. Now, before this, had written The Golden Child, the Eddie Murphy movie, but continues to have a thriving career after. Wrote the movie Virus, again talking about scary internet movies of the 90s. Sticks with the Species franchise as all the sequels, even the 2 straight to sci-fi ones.
And it only in the sense that he gets a characters based off of his script.
Oh, I
He
thought it was
doesn't
a true
actually
writing
write
credit.
those.
It's just story.
No,
Okay.
It's just
Fair
it's
enough,
just
fair enough.
characters by No,
Hey, I'm sure he cashed the checks. No qualms, no problem.
I wouldn't mind it.
And is also a pretty notable producer on a few things. And I want to say that just so I can once again shout out the movie Dead Again. Andrew, are you on the Wikipedia? Dead Again. One of the coolest posters I've ever seen for a movie. I have yet to see it. But I have this like on my wish list because just based on that poster, like I have to see this. It's so cool. So everybody, us describing it is pointless. Just do a quick Google image for the movie Dead Again. Just super cool original art for the cover.
Kenneth Branagh, Emma Thompson. Like, how have I not seen this? Is this the right one? Dude, it's on sale on Vudu right now for $5.
I will own it by the days of by days end, Andrew.
I am gonna own it. I'm gonna own it by minutes end. Like, I don't know what you're waiting.
Well, we're actively recording. Fine, I'll buy it right now.
Yeah, and I just bought it right now. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that is an amazing poster. Like, truly. Like, and then like Kenneth Branagh.
Although
Andy
sadly,
Garcia.
On Vudu, it doesn't have
have this poster
art, but yeah.
So I'll add it. I'll have to add it to Plex so I can give it the right poster. Yeah, that's an awesome poster. That's bonus episode coming when we watch Dead Again and just talk about the poster for 2 hours. But don't threaten you guys with a good time. I know, but yeah, it is wild that we only have one credited writer. It feels like every movie. Although this kind of feels like it's just one guy's idea that just like and that's what the story is. The story was conceived by him, by Dennis Feldman as like a police procedural, and then he rewrote it into a spec script, which kind of turned it into Feces. And yeah,
dude, you mentioned Kenneth. Did you mention Andy Garcia being in Dead Again?
Yes, I did.
Wayne Knight, Robin Williams. Like, what?
What is this movie? Like, what is this? Like, where is it from? How does this? This is the thing that's always baffling to me, dude. Like, I know a lot about movies. Like, I'm pretty knowledgeable, and it's amazing to me the things that I still have no idea exist.
Sidney Pollack is an executive producer on this.
Like, I'm just like, it's amazing to me the things that I don't know, and it's scary to me sometimes as well. I gotta not look at this wiki. I think it's giving away stuff, so I gotta stop looking at it. But
we do a best of the best on a movie no one's heard of. Yeah,
I don't even know if this movie's good. Like, I didn't even look at the critical response. All right, 80%. All right, best of the best coming soon. Dead Again.
All right, this movie being Species is directed by Roger Donaldson. This is a New Zealand director that ended up having a pretty successful career over here in Hollywood as well. A lot of his early filmography is Australian or New Zealand films that I'm personally not super familiar with, but they gain a lot of attention. He does come over here to the States. One of the more early high-profile things he does is Cocktail, the early Tom Cruise movie. He does a movie called The Getaway with Alec Baldwin shortly before doing Species. After this, does Dante's Peak, one of the two big volcano movies from the 90s. He actually directed that movie The Recruit, the early Colin Farrell movie with Al
Pacino.
Al Pacino. Thank you. I was about to say who and ask you who it was. What I find very interesting about his career, though, is like, you look at Species, like, it is first and foremost a sci-fi movie. It's a creature movie. It's special effects. Like, that is the driving force of this movie. But you go up and down this guy's filmography.
He never did it before or again. Like,
it's like cable TV action movies. I don't mean cable TV, like, they don't deserve to be in theaters, but they would have a long life playing on TV, like your dad's favorite movie, as we like to say. They're action movies, they're thrillers. Like, this is like the only one that seems to be special effects heavy, and I think he does a great job. Like, it seems like someone that has their finger on the pulse of this kind of film, but it's sort of an oddity in his filmography.
It is, and that's always kind of wild to me. Like, props to people for taking a swing, but sometimes they realize it's just not for them. And that's perfectly fine. Like, you look at Martin Campbell's filmography, he's got Green Lantern in the middle of that, but you look at everything else he's done and you're like, okay, one of these things is not like the others.
Yeah.
And it's interesting looking at this. I mean, he's got there's some really, like, Sleeping Dogs is an action thriller from New Zealand that's quite good. You get into stuff like The Bounty, which is like a weird movie about the HMS Bounty with Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins. Then you get into stuff like even No Way Out, which is like a weird thriller with Kevin Costner. Cocktail, obviously everybody knows Cocktail. It gifted the world with the worst Beach Boys song ever. And unfortunately, I will never be free from it. But it is, and then obviously then you get into the stuff like White Sands, which is another crime thriller he does. So a lot of his stuff kind of exists in that like crime thriller heist type arena. And then Species is kind of this interesting foray, I guess, where he tries something else, and I guess maybe it just wasn't for him. Can't really say. But after this, like you said, then goes back to Dante's Peak, which is, a disaster film. Obviously, got some big scale there. But then following this, it's pretty much back into kind of standard kind of thriller drama stuff. So an interesting career, but definitely I think he does a good job here as well. I'm a little surprised that he never tried it again. But like I said, you can, just because you did a good job at it doesn't mean you enjoyed it. So.
All right, Andrew, I think it's time that we jump into this movie now, talk about all the things that we like, our favorite scenes, what it does well, all the positives of the movie Species. Andrew, are you ready?
Yes.
After scientists on Earth receive a transmission from extraterrestrial life, they decode the message and find its instructions for creating a new form of life. Naturally, the US government decides to do just that, and the result is a human-alien hybrid that looks like a woman, but grows at an exceptional rate. Fearing the worst from this powerful new species, the government decides to terminate the being, but she escapes captivity. A secret crew is assembled to track down and eliminate the alien, and they manage to follow her path of destruction until they themselves are face to face with the beautiful but quite deadly alien. That's it, Andrew. I mean, you're talking about water cooler talk. It's the movie with the naked alien that kills people, that tries to have sex with people and kills people. What's interesting to me is that you could very easily say this movie is super derivative, like those obvious influences from Alien. I mean, a beautiful naked woman that's an alien walking around killing people, that's the plot of the 1985 movie Life Force. Like, this has literally been done before. But still, I think throughout all that, this still manages to find like its own identity, even though like you could say, oh, it's Paul Verhoeven's Alien. It might be like the short way to describe this, but it still manages to feel unlike any of those other things, and it definitely feels of the 90s. It feels very like a post The Fly world. Something like Mimic comes out a few years before this. It's in that vein, but I've always felt like it's been able to stand on its own two beautiful feet.
Mimic comes after this, just to be clear.
Pardon me.
Yeah, Del Toro, why you ripping off Species? But I mean, like, the notion of, like, a female alien, like, I'm sure there's, like, 80 Saturday night late show B movies that have this exact same plot. Like, I have no question that, like, if I turned on a TV set in 1978 at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night, I'd probably find something with a similar plot to this. But it is obviously the involvement of H.R. Geiger draws a lot of comparisons to Alien, which apparently is something he was concerned about, so he actually pushed for script changes. I mean, this is a B movie plot. Like you said, Life Force is the same idea. There have been plenty of movies that were done this is a similar idea before. I'm sure there's episodes of The Twilight Zone or The Outer Limits that involve things like this. I mean, an alien takeover of the planet. Like, you can use any mechanism for that takeover that you want, but aliens invading Earth to take it over, like, that's all the way back to the day the Earth stood still. I mean, that's the whole point. But it does manage to stand alone. Obviously, like you said, there's clear analogs to a lot of stuff here. Like, you can look at this movie and see, like, The Thing. You can see stuff from Alien to an extent. You can see I had another movie in my head and it just vanished.
Oh no!
I don't even remember now, but it's clearly like but like it's not hiding any of that either. I guess is my point. Like you know, it may be pulling some stuff from various places. The Fly, there it is, The Fly. But you just said it, and I was like, why am I forgetting this? But like, and so obviously you're looking to the body horror stuff of the Cronenbergs, the various different influences here, and some of it's very similar in that vein. Obviously,
Cocoon, Andrew. I was thinking of Cocoon when I said Mimic. Cocoon comes before this.
Yeah, I guess. Don't know that I draw a straight line to Cocoon here, but
she literally makes a cocoon.
Yeah, but it's wildly different circumstances. Like,
dude, Cocoon. I've never
cocoon.
seen Cocoon.
Like,
I just know very few things from it. But I googled Cocoon movie. Is that where this gross-looking, shriveled-up guy is from? I use this GIF all the time to describe how thirsty I am. He looks like a freaky version of like Zordon whenever he's out of his tube.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that's Cocoon.
Okay. So I need to see this movie.
It's a weird little dehydrated alien. Yeah, you should watch Cocoon once. You want to see Wilford Brimley and Don Amici at an old folks' home dealing with weird aliens. Directed by Ron Howard, I think. Anyway, it's not really hiding from any of its influences. Is only my point that I was trying to make there. But ultimately, like you said, I think it kind of finds its own way to an extent, and some of that's through sexualization of the main character. But it is not that Life Force doesn't do that either. But it's. And even the poster, like you look at this poster, it's like it's the alien font, and like
it's got the green glowy letters, yeah.
Yeah, like it knows what it's doing, and I think that definitely keeps this firmly like in B movie territory. But I think it's still doing a slightly different. It's not just playing the hits, for lack of a better way to put it.
I actually think it's a really ugly poster. I don't like that original poster. You can kind of hard to make out what it's even trying to be. The one they eventually use on the VHS, I think, where you can... Anytime it's like a half-naked woman, half-alien, it kind of does a better job selling you on what this movie is, even if it is a little more sleazy, but that's kind of the movie it is. There's the one where she's like sitting down and her bottom half is almost like a mermaid. Her bottom half is alien, her top half is Natasha.
Now here's what I will say. The Species 2 cover, way better.
Okay, I gotta look at that one specifically. Species 2. I've never seen any of the sequels. Yeah, that's perfect. That's yeah.
That's what this should have been.
Beautiful woman, part alien, looks serious though. Almost, it doesn't even really look like it's trying to be super sexy on the Species 2 cover. But yeah, that's a good one. That's a good cover. By the time you get to Species 4, friend of the show, my wife, she passively watched this movie as I was watching it, and she was looking at the sequels. Species 4 looks like a Skinamax movie. Like it's just like a beautiful woman in a skimpy red dress, and then there's kind of an alien in the background. But what's funny about 3 and 4 is they go straight to sci-fi. Like, you would think the natural progression of this movie is to get more sleazy, more nudity, but being that they were made for the Sci-Fi Channel, I can only assume that they are not that. It's just going to be very bad CG. But I don't know. Like I said, I've never dove.
I also like how Species 3 takes 6 years to come out after Species 2, even though it picks up right at the end of it. It's just but there was a period of time there where sci-fi was getting big, and like sci-fi did a bunch of Tremors sequels, and it was the same thing where like the first 2 Tremors movies like went to theaters, and then like suddenly now we're in this direct-to-video sci-fi original era, and then sci-fi just kind of got this idea that we can just
the Tremors 2 even got at the Tremors 2 at the
I think it did. I think it did. Let's look. Because this is very relevant to the conversation.
It's important to figure this out right now.
Because Fred Ward was still in it, Michael Gross was still in it. It did. No, maybe. I guess.
I don't think it went to theaters. Release the films.
A very small limited release. All right, so yeah, it really like a theatrical release was deemed too expensive, so I guess not. My mistake. So, and yeah, by Tremors 3, you're firmly in, because Tremors 2 still has this like air of production to it.
Yeah,
and then by the time you get to 3, like you're firmly in like sci-fi original territory at that point. But just FYI, folks, there is a Tremors television pilot that has Kevin Bacon in it that will never see the light of day.
That never leaked. I know we've seen stills from it, but we never actually got to see that pilot. I remember hearing about it.
I don't think it ever leaked.
It's interesting because like I've heard Kevin Bacon in interviews a lot, and he's never been like, I regret Tremors or anything, but he's also doesn't seem to talk about it with much reverence. He's I made this weird, worm movie. He kind of talks about it like kind of that air. Like I don't know how proud of it he is. So I was a little surprised that he, did the pilot. But yeah, didn't get picked up. So
the full script is out there apparently, which not what I want. But yeah. So anyway.
All right, Andrew. Back to the task at hand. Species. We're going to talk about this film. We're going to talk about all the cool stuff, all the cool scenes, all the special effects. But first, you know what we got to do? We got to talk about this cast, starting with the high point, best casting, best performance in the movie, because every episode, we recognize one person who goes so far above and beyond the Call of Duty that they actually elevate the quality of the film with their performance. We recognize that person by giving them the Mark Strong Award. Andrew, kick us off. Who is getting your Mark Strong Award for Species?
I will be going with Michael Madsen as Preston Press Lennox as my Mark Strong Award winner. Obviously, I know that there's an inclination to just give it to the obvious one, but I like Michael Madsen a lot. I didn't even realize he was in this movie. None of the scenes I saw growing up or in my adults included him at all. I don't know why. But he was seemingly excluded. But imagine my surprise to find out that Michael Madsen, Alfred Molina, and Forrest Whitaker were all in this movie. I had no idea. But it's I like what he's doing here. He's kind of purposely played as the outsider to this. Basically, he's just a bounty hunter, essentially. He finds people and doesn't usually bring them back alive. But everybody else involved is a scientist. Everybody else involved is like some sort of expert or kind of contributes directly to what's going on here. He's kind of the normal one of the group. Not the normal one necessarily, but he's not the smart one. He's not the scientist. He doesn't have any of that information. So he's kind of presented as the outsider that still kind of endears himself to the members of the team, and is basically just almost not quite the level of an audience surrogate of just like standing around and going like, whoa, every time something crazy happens. But I like Michael Madsen. I'm happy to see him in like a leading role. It just feels like, despite things like Reservoir Dogs, we didn't get a whole big, like, there's no leading man run for Michael Madsen, really, that comes out of any of that. But I've always been a big fan. I like it when he shows up. And I think here he's doing that, riding that line of, like, being the kind of outsider to the situation that still kind of can figure out and not react poorly to what's going on. He kind of adapts what he knows from his line of work into this very ridiculous situation. And I like what I'm seeing. So, yeah, Michael Madsen. Press.
It's a great pick. I mean, Michael Madsen, hell of a character actor, just effortlessly cool. I just think about just the choices he makes, the way he delivers lines, the way he'll just like look away from someone mid-sentence as he finishes whatever he's saying to him. Just got that distinctly raspy voice that only got raspier over time. By the time he's in like the Kill Bill movies, it's like almost hard to understand what he's saying. It's gotten so raspy, but just cool as hell. From his Tarantino work to anywhere else I've seen him pop up. A while back on the podcast, I mentioned finally watching Thelma and Louise. He shows up there in a very, very, very good supporting role. It's great. This is a great pick. I mean, he's certainly my favorite of this scientist team. Like you said, he's not a scientist, but of this team that's assembled to hunt him down. Of course, a big R.A.P. to Michael Madsen. He did pass away earlier this year, rather recently.
Earlier this year.
I
had a very weird moment. He died in July, but like I had sworn he died already. Like I was like so confused and was just like, wait. No. Michael Madsen, like I saw the stories that Michael Madsen passed away and I was like, yeah, like a year ago, right? And they were like, no, like today. And I was like, huh? I was like, no, that
I already mourned. I was already sad.
I already went through this. I'm not doing it again. The only thing I can think is I was possibly like merging Michael Madsen and Ray Liotta in my head. That's all I can think of.
Yeah,
and that's
big,
awful of me. I'm sorry.
Square head actors with black greasy hair. Yeah,
that should have done more.
Yeah,
not to their fault, but they both, Madsen coming out of Reservoir Dogs, Liotta coming out of Goodfellas. Like, how are these not big time guys? How did that not happen?
Yeah, it is wild. Although
anyway.
Both of them, I would love to see Michael Madsen starring in more stuff for sure. But he's great as an ensemble player, or as like just a little touch of flavor you sprinkle into your movie. And Ray Liotta too. I mean, we did Sin City 2 had a Ray Liotta in a super small role, but it's like, man, this guy just pops. Like, anyway, don't need to go on a Ray Liotta tangent. Andrew, I got a quick question for you though, while we're talking about Michael Madsen here, and there's no right or wrong here. I'm not trying to lead you any specific direction, but it's just something I was thinking about after watching this movie. Reservoir Dogs. Who gets your Mark Strong Award for Reservoir Dogs?
Steve Buscemi. No. But
Why'd you immediately walk it back?
I'm joking because I think I like him in that movie, but I don't think he's the standout by any means.
Interesting. Okay.
Because really, the movie is Harvey Keitel and Michael Madsen. Like that's the crux.
I mean, Tim Roth has more shades to play than anybody. Is there?
He's dying most of it.
Yeah, and he's so good at it.
My brain, like my gut is it would go to Michael Madsen, if only for like the chair scene alone. Yeah. Like I feel like that almost exclusively elevates him above everybody else to an extent. But you could argue for almost anybody, like Harvey Keitel kind of being the straight man the whole time, like Tim Roth obviously having all the layers to his character, even Steve Buscemi's character, like the kind of cowardice that he exudes, like all of that. Like it's a tough thing, like to really pick, but like I feel like the chair scene gives it to Michael Madsen, like almost in a push.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cast where I don't think you're crazy for picking anybody.
Yeah,
maybe Lawrence Bender. That'd be a wild pick. But
yeah, there's like Tarantino for Mr. Brown. Like that would be a weird one. That would be a little odd.
Yeah, no.
But any of our main leads, I think you'd be fine picking with. But like, yeah, it's one of those things where like you could. There's arguments for many. It's like Pulp Fiction. Who's the Mark Strong of Pulp Fiction?
Samuel Jackson. I think that one. I mean, it's another one where I don't think you're crazy for picking anybody. Uma Thurman, John Travolta. But to me, that's like Samuel Jackson's. He elevates to a new stratosphere with that performance in that movie.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
But for Reservoir, Mr. Pink has always been my favorite Reservoir Dog. So I don't think it's crazy to say Steve Buscemi, but he's my favorite character in the movie. But. Yeah.
I feel like he's just absent for a lot of it. Like, especially when the action gets going, I feel like he's just not there.
Yeah, he's smart. He hides. He lives. He's the only one that walks out of that building because he's the only fucking professional. That's why I love the guy. Tim Roth, like I said, he's dying, but he has the cop stuff. His scene where he's memorizing the joke and it plays through him memorizing it all the way through him actually having to use it, having to tell it, and then we have the scene of like the story he's telling being played out. Might be my favorite scene of the movie. But Michael Madsen is a pretty safe pick. I mean, that's a character, no matter how good you write it, only Michael Madsen could bring Mr. Blonde to life. Only Michael Madsen can say something like, if they hadn't done what I told them not to do, they'd still be alive right now. And like, that's a very boring, I can't do a Michael Madsen impression, but like he says something that simple and he like is captivating while he says it. or you're gonna bark all day, little dog, are you gonna bite? Like it's he brings that stuff to life so well. So yeah, I think Michael Madsen's a pretty safe pick for Reservoir Dogs, but I was just curious if anybody else was maybe jumping out to you.
Yeah, it's you could sell a number of people for Reservoir Dogs. It's not like, I was because there's something about, I was talking with my friend about Fargo the other day. Because I love Fargo. The movie Fargo, not the show. The show is also very good, but
Okay.
I think, like, Fargo, obviously, I think my Mark Strong for Fargo would be William H. Macy without a question. Just because I love how sniveling and cowardly his character is. Like, he's such a pathetic little man that, like, when he's captured at the end and he's like, it's not stoic and he's like facing the music. It's not, it's not in a blaze of glory. He's getting dragged out of that room, kicking and screaming, having a tantrum like a toddler. And it's just the perfect encapsulation of his performance in that movie. And like, that when a character is just an absolute coward and they play it so well, it's another thing where, like, I don't know that I can imagine somebody else pulling that off and having it work in the way that he does. And that's, that's what a Mark Strong is, isn't it, folks?
Well, Andrew, I think I'm giving the Mark Strong award to someone else. And what I'm thinking is, what performance is separating this film from all other movies? What's elevating it? I'm going to go with a alum of the show, Natasha Henstridge as Syl. I think this is, when you boil it down, the secret sauce of the movie. And yeah, we're being coy dancing around it, but yeah, she's a beautiful naked woman, and that is an appeal of this movie. So I don't want to, it's easy to joke about, but I don't want to like diminish like that is something special. Like, to be a new actor, she's I believe a model before this, willing to play this role, that's not nothing. You know what I mean? And she's able to have like a respectable career after and do performances where she's not just naked the whole time, but she sort of is able to overcome that potential pitfall. But it's not nothing to be willing to put yourself on screen like that. But I don't leave this movie thinking, oh, they just found some hot model that's willing to be naked on screen and threw her in here. I think we're getting a real performance out of it. And I'm reminded a little bit of Roger Ebert talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger, specifically his role in Terminator, where he's like, this is really smart use of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who looks inhuman and, especially in that original Terminator, like, is still, he sounds such a distinct way and maybe struggles with English, but like, this is a character that is expected to have limited dialogue and sound otherworldly. Like, it's leaning into what could be his pitfalls, if that makes sense. And with Natasha here, we have someone who's new to acting, probably doesn't have a great well in her skill set just yet as far as acting, but she's playing a character that is brand new to the world, that is literally learning how to speak English. So like, when she gives a deadpan delivery, that's part of the character, right? It's not asking too much from her as an actor, but it's feeding into like their narrative purpose. She's learning how to speak. She's learning how to like seduce men, which she's really, I almost said she's not good at. Clearly she is good at it, but she comes on way, way, way too strong. She's like, oh, this is how you seduce men. You get naked and you immediately jump in and say, I'm late for a party. Can you take me? Just real straightforward. But like, the stiffness, it all really works really well for the characters. So I think in that regard, like, her potential weaknesses end up being strengths for the character in a very interesting way. And there's still, like, I don't want to be too backhanded here. There's still moments where, like, the character of Syl, who was like an alien that was created in a lab, is having these nightmares of like where she came from, her alien race, and she's questioning like, what is my purpose? Who am I? And she sells that stuff really well. That's like the biggest ask of her from an acting perspective, I think. And so beyond just like trying to fake be human, she has that real struggle. A few scenes of that as well. So we're getting just a shade more beyond just that surface level stuff. So for that reason, I mean, she's the reason you watch the movie, whether you just want to see boobs in a sci-fi horror movie, or you're more into the sci-fi stuff or the existential questions the movie kind of toys with at times. Like whatever layer you're engaging with this movie, she's at the center of it and doing a fantastic job, in my opinion. So for all of those reasons, getting my Mark Strong award. I don't think she picked one up on Ghost of Mars, which is where we talked about her before. So I believe this will be her first Mark Strong award.
Yeah, I think this is a good pick. I have absolutely no issue at all with people going in this direction. I think it is completely fair and good choice, because this is something that has to hold the whole movie together in a way that makes the movie engaging and still has to give a good performance, because otherwise it could easily devolve into just like, not to be too backhanded, but like a Terminator 3 type situation where there really is nothing to the character beyond just the appearance. And part of that's the script, part of that's the movie itself just not really giving the person anything to work with. But you're right, it would have been very easy to just make this a very one-note performance. They give it some edge, they give it some layers. That's what I think is most interesting about this performance, and what's most interesting just about the story of this character, is that there is this big unknown, because the implication here obviously is that we got this DNA code from another planet, from another alien race, and they've provided us with it, and we combine it with human DNA, and it creates this thing that just doesn't know what it is, but gets these flashes of things and gets these kind of nightmares of this kind of true form and this idea, and it's deeply unsettling.
I mean, if your nightmares were designed by H.R. Geiger, you'd probably wake up in a panic as well.
I mean, my nightmares aren't designed by H.R. Geiger, and I wake up in a paranoid attack anyway. Like, it's everyone says, "What are you doing, Andrew?" And I'm like, living the dream, because nightmares are dreams, folks. But it's very easy for this performance to be very one note, and they don't allow for that. And some of that's, and it's a variety of factors, but you could have still had a very flat performance here. And I think Natasha is up to the task. She adds dimension and layers to it. There's this, she's very good, because there is an arc to this character. There's this confusion at the center. Just this idea, like, that even starts when Michelle Williams plays the younger version of the character.
Which, shout out, because like Michelle Williams, very good child actor. Like, this is the only child performance I know of hers, but like, you watch it and like, yeah, I'm not surprised that she turned out to be one of our finest actors. She is already incredible.
15 when this came out, I think 14 when it was shot. So this is obviously before Dawson's Creek, but it's so there's this confusion and this innocence that kind of accompanies the character originally. This kind of almost wonder at like the world, because she's been in a cage for the entirety of the whole 3 months of her life. But and then as the movie goes on and those kind of instincts of the kind of DNA code start taking over, there is this sinister edge that starts revealing itself. So a little bit more malicious, a little bit more deliberate in the pain that it's causing. And she does a good job with those shades and adding to those moments and making sure that the performance and even the body language matches the kind of motivation of the character at the time. And I just think that is an immensely laudable thing, especially for someone who had not acted extensively too much before this, but comes and gives that kind of layered performance here. I think that is very, very good.
Before we move on from the character of Syl, I just want to say real quick that, like, if you haven't seen this movie or you just know the legacy, you might watch it and be surprised how often the character is actually not naked. Like, Life Force, that character is naked the entire runtime. That is a naked woman. That's the entire, it's a wild movie. But here, there are some seduction scenes, some sex scenes. It's really not that much more nudity than you would see from like an erotic thriller at the time or something else where you expect to see the woman naked all the time. I think it's just a little bit more, it jumps out more because this is like a sci-fi alien horror movie. So it's like, oh wow, okay, boobs here we go. A little more unexpected, but it's not like a gratuitous, like it's not an insane amount. So consider like the story she has with that woman that she ties up and eventually kills her to fake her own death. Like that whole arc, she's not naked the entire time. She does plenty of stuff fully clothed in the movie. So I don't want to make it all about the nudity. It's, you know, it's what people talk about, but there's plenty more to the character than just that. We mentioned Michelle Williams plays the younger version. I want to shout out Dana He, who is still in her alien form. So when she looks, you know, very xenomorphy. Obviously, we have a stunt woman in there. I appreciate that they used a stunt woman, because even though the alien form like has boobs, I would not have been surprised if they threw a man in there. It used to be pretty common to use stunt men for female parts, so I figured if it's covered in prosthetics, they would just do that, but they made a point to use a woman, which I think is very cool. Dana He, I don't know too much about, but she's a gold medalist in Taekwondo. Seems like a very Olympic gold medalist, I should say. Seems like a pretty interesting person, so I appreciate they sort of went the extra mile there. And lastly, our good friend Frank Welker does the alien voice.
Because of course he does.
Because of course he does. All the hissing and weird cat noises this thing does. It's the one and only Frank Welker.
It's just, if Megatron didn't speak and was just speaking in noises, that's how this character sounds. Basically it's that register. But yeah, Dana He, quite a career there. Just looking at the list of movies, you've got, you know, Batman Forever, Charlie's Angels, Gangs of New York, Independence Day, Mortal Kombat, Spider-Man 2, Terminator 3, all sorts of stuff. And she's been a double for Cameron Diaz, Daryl Hannah, Gina Davis, Gwyneth Paltrow, Nicole Kidman, Rene Russo, Sandra Bullock, all sorts of people. So just quite the career, quite the resume. So very, very cool. But yeah, it's they put in the work with Syl here in a variety of ways, and the movie is better for it.
Now, the team that is assembled to track down Syl is led by Xavier Fitch, played by Ben Kingsley. This character is actually responsible for creating Syl, responsible for making the decision to terminate Syl. Of course, she escapes under his watch, and he assembles the team to track her down. Man, Ben Kingsley. When you hear that he's in your movie, you know you are getting like a serious actor, someone with a presence, someone with a command of the screen, someone that could really bring some. Andrew, what does Ben Kingsley bring to your movie?
Gravitas.
That's right. Beautiful. You know what's great, Andrew, is Discord has like an audio filter. So if the noise is like too static or too quiet, it cuts it out.
It probably cut that whole thing.
I can tell by your face that you were still going. I was like, oh wait, I should stop. I'll hear it in the record. But wonderful, beautiful performance, Andrew. Now, I wouldn't say, other than like, you know, it's Ben Kingsley, his role here isn't really to bring gravitas. He's kind of just he's carrying around a big gun, hunting down this alien most of the time. But he delivers a lot of exposition early in the movie. Like, he explains sort of the whole story of Syl, the transmission thing. We sent information to outer space. They sent back instructions to do this. We made this creature. She's on the run, blah, 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 blah. He delivers all that very well. But it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's like, this is on me, but like Ben Kingsley just feels so serious. Like, he's got to be like a Shakespearean actor. I mean, he played, you know, Gandhi is maybe like his most critically acclaimed performance, you know, just so serious. But I haven't seen a ton of Ben Kingsley, but I've seen this. I've seen him in the Marvel movies. Like, I've seen him not be super serious. To me, it's just projecting. But to me, it's just I don't know. It seems weird to see. He's like Patrick Stewart, like this, Shakespearean actor, so serious. Like, can you imagine Patrick Stewart being in a movie with like cheesy looking alien creatures? Like, it's just weird.
He
right?
definitely wasn't on a television show about it for 8 years.
That was just so I could get actually in the Spotify comments. I knew what I was doing, guys. Don't worry. But Big Kingsley is good in this movie. It's funny because he puts the team together, and then after that, he seems to be the most useless one. He's just a guy with a gun, and he doesn't make it to the end of the film.
Yeah, yeah, there's just not a lot to this character. Like, the script just really doesn't give him a lot of shades once he gives all the information. It's implied that like there's sort of a connection between him and Syl, but it's not really followed up on. I think he gets his jaw ripped off, and it's pretty brutal and pretty gnarly. But yeah, I mean, Ben Kingsley is doing exactly what is being asked of the character, but there's just not really a lot to this character. So
Alfred Molina, another alum of the show from, well, we didn't cover Spider-Man 2, but our bonus episode on Spider-Man No Way Home, where he reprises his role as Doc Ock. It gotta be his most famous role at this point. But man, talk about another well-respected, serious actor, done a ton of great stuff. He plays Dr. Stephen Arden. He's brought on the team because he is an anthropologist. I believe a professor at a school is what he tells those girls at the bar when he's trying to hit on them. So how that factors into tracking down an alien, I guess he's there for the human half of this creature to provide assistance there. A little unclear on that one. The how they narrow down like the specialties they put together to track down this alien, I think is a little questionable. I'm not sure I would have put this exact team together, but his whole story arc here is that he has a crush on another member of the team, but she is crushing on Michael Madsen's character. He feels a little like an outsider, a little dejected, but he's the one that gets to finally mate with Syl. So he, doesn't do too bad. Ends up dying for it, but goes out on a win, if you ask me. He's a little, I don't know if pathetic maybe seems a little bit strong. I mean, just use that to describe William H. Macy a little bit earlier. I wouldn't go that far with it, but he's kind of a sad, lonely guy underneath it all, and I think he plays that layer pretty well.
yeah, I wouldn't say pathetic. That's not really the word I'd use. Maybe a little hapless, but it's yeah, he's got a definitely is like obviously likes the female member of the team, but she's into Michael Madsen, and he's kind of trying to hook up with women at this bar they're hanging out at. Doesn't quite go too well. I do like the implication that like after they've finished killing this alien, they're just like all hanging out drinking at a bar. They're just like, yeah, we're all buds now after we killed this alien. Let's just hang out and drink. And it's like they're all having these like weird bonding experiences of like, this is a Long Island iced tea, and it's like there's no iced tea in it. Like weird dialogue where you're just like, I guess you're friends now. I guess this is how this works. But
yeah, you track down an alien together that you can't talk to anyone else in the world about. It forms a bond, Andrew.
I suppose. But yeah, so brought in just because I guess he understands human nature. That's anthropologists. They just have studied human behavior throughout societies. And so it's a it's an interesting performance. Obviously, he's kind of the geek of the group in a lot of ways. But yeah, ultimately is death by snoo snoo.
Now that brings us to Andrew, the wildest character in the movie, I think, the wildest performance, the weirdest one. Forrest Whitaker plays Dan Smithson. First off, Ben Kingsley, Alfred Molina, Forrest Whitaker. This sounds like a much more serious movie than we're getting. Like those are some heavy hitting actors. But it's just a 90s sci-fi creature feature. And that's all they're here to do. But Forrest Whitaker, his character Dan Smithson, is super empathic. his superpower is empathy. He can look at someone, he can tell what they're feeling, he feels it himself. He looks at someone in pain, he feels the pain. He has to look away from the footage of Syl escaping because he knows how scared she is. And beyond that, it's a little nebulous. Like, they kind of play with. He almost like picks up like an emotional scent left behind. He knows what direction Syl went, where she was feeling in that area. Like, it's a little unclear. Like, it's almost supernatural what he's able to do. It's just a strange character. Forrest Whitaker plays it as good as anybody could. Like, I'm never.
Yeah.
It's not. It would be much more ridiculous with someone else there. But, like, I believe Forrest Whitaker is a character that is feeling all these things. But, man, what just a weird-ass character. Again, this is one of those, like, what made you think to get a super empath to track down an alien on the run? But, yeah, wild character. I gotta imagine something like this only exists in Hollywood movies. But, yeah, strangest member of the team, for sure.
Yeah, because it is supernatural in a way. Because, like, where even right before he gets recruited, like, he knows the person at the door is for him and that they're there to take him. Like, he knows already. So it's not even like it just straight I guess they're using the empath in like a broad term here, but like there's almost a psychic level here where just I guess there's this kind of bond or just this kind of pre-sense, a spider sense, if you will. No, I can't think of anything clever to say, so I'm just moving beyond it. But yeah, definitely the weirdest member of the team. Like I said, plays it as well as anyone could. It's very strange, but yeah, definitely like an odd take for this movie. And like this is one of those things where you're just like, like, what's also kind of funny to me about this team is they're not very effective. Like.
Yeah.
She comes to them every time. Like, every time they run into Syl, it's because Syl comes to them. Like, they never catch up with her. They never find her. They do trail her, I guess. So they do, like, find where she's been, but they don't find where she's going. And then ultimately, the interactions they have with her are all because she appears to them. And it's just like, don't know that Ben Kingsley really did the homework here. But that's always funny. I mean, that's not a trope at all uncommon to movies like this at all. That the team, when you really dial in, you're just like, oh, you guys really aren't that good at this, are you?
And if you really want to dial into it, like the whole movie is like the hubris of man. The fact that we made this alien, like that we were sent this information, like, yeah, we'll do that. We'll create a new life. We can probably contain it. Oh, we can't contain it. This team can track it down. Oh, they can't take it down. Like. Because a running theme is certainly that like we aren't top the food chain. We aren't that smart. We think we are much more capable than we actually are.
I mean, the hubris of man. I mean, that's been the Frankenstein is about the hubris of man. Just this idea that like, hey man, you know what I think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get a bunch of dead body parts. I'm gonna stitch them together, and I'm gonna put a dude's brain in it, and I'm gonna bring it back to life. And it's gonna go just fine. There's going to be no problems, and no one's going to have any issues with it. Narrator, there would in fact be large problems. But like, it's always kind of funny to me when people point out, they're like, oh, the characters in this thing are so stupid. And I'm like, that's another hallmark trope. Like Victor Frankenstein doing what he did in Frankenstein. It's a dumb thing to do. Yeah. Don't do it. Like, all of that is avoided if he just doesn't do or stops at any of the 97,000 points that he could have stopped that. But
it's the evergreen words of Dr. Ian Malcolm. You were so concerned with whether or not you could, you didn't stop to consider whether or not you should. I mean, that is such a good distillation of so much sci-fi work, and of course there's plenty of real world applications to it as well. But,
yep.
All right, Andrew, let's round out this team. Marg Helgenberger plays Dr. Laura Baker. Now, this makes sense. She's a microbiologist. It makes the most sense. Like, we have a new form of life. This creature leaves behind this cocoon and residue, and, like, how does this life exist on Earth? I sort of understand this character to a point. Like, if you're trying to study and learn about this new alien, but they're not. They're trying to track it down and kill it. So I don't know how. Again, I don't know how useful she's going to be if that's not ultimately your mission. But she seems genuinely interested in learning more about this life form. I think she is upset that they are just trying to kill it and not learn from it. She has a lot of good insight to what her goal is. Figuring out that she's looking for a mate, rejecting mates that aren't healthy or deemed worthy. So she's learning as they go. Maybe not like you said, like they're not really one step ahead of the alien, but she is gathering a good amount of knowledge about it as they go. And of course, her subplot here is that she is falling for Michael Madsen's character. They have a flirty thing going that eventually culminates in the scene where they all pair up and have sex. One of them just happens to be having sex with the alien creature.
A tale as old as time. So she's definitely the smart one of the group, the one that you understand why she's there. I was trying to remember what I knew her from, and it's CSI. She was on CSI for a very, very long time. And was also in, I guess, Bad Boys and a bunch of other movies in the 90s too. And she's one of the few characters that does return after this. She has come back for Species 2, but then does exit that series as well. But it is a fun performance. There's a good chemistry of the team. I'll say that they do come off well together as a group. You just realize that they're not really accomplishing much. But and part of that is just that Syl is that far ahead of them and is operating on a different wavelength. But it is it's a good performance. And I like the chemistry she has with Madsen, and I think it's good stuff.
Those are our main players. Really a pretty tight cast. You've got the crew hunting her down. You've got the alien. There's some small parts that come in and quickly exit, usually due to being killed by alien creatures. So we can move on to talk about those scenes, Andrew. The scenes of this film, specifically all the scenes that we liked, everything it does well. We're going to start with the best scene of the movie, or at least our personal favorite. So Andrew, in your opinion, when is this movie firing on all cylinders? What is the best scene in Species?
I really like a lot of scenes in this movie, but I think the scene that definitely stood out to me, and it definitely echoes to like The Thing, but I'm going to go for the lab scene where they attempt to develop the DNA code without a human attachment, because that's one of the reveals here, is that Syl is specifically this modified DNA code injected into like a human ovum. So like it's the new DNA filtered through humans, basically. So they decide they want to try to create a version of this that is just the DNA kind of, to see what that looks like. And it's horrifying. It's so gross. It is so nasty. And we get this kind of built up tension because they're watching this kind of cell division on a camera, and then the camera dies. And of course, she knows how to replace the camera. So she knows how to replace the camera. So they go into the lab to do it. And then obviously they realize that the DNA has already taken over this cell, and it is starting to expand and grow. And it starts growing into this like very Thing-esque, like nasty bubble web tentacle thing.
Yeah.
That just starts expanding out and growing, and it's super nasty, super gross. And so there's the whole tension, like the Ben Kingsley's character won't let them out of the lab because he thinks it's too much of a risk to let the thing escape. And so there's this back and forth where they think they kill it. But just the effects here of just the alien kind of bubbling out of these spaces and like bubbling into these, like you're seeing it happen, and it's all practical from what I can tell. Which is I think why this kind of edges out the finale for me. But as this thing is literally like just bubbling up from behind stuff and filling out the spaces, it's just a very, very cool effect. Obviously, we're seeing this thing in a more unfettered, unhinged kind of way, and it's terrifying. It's gross. It's horrible. And eventually they do get out of the lab, and then they just toast the whole thing. But this scene, I think, is where the movie really kind of takes everything that it's working with, uses a lot of practical effects. I don't really know that there's any CG here at all. And don't get me wrong, I clearly see like analogs to The Thing with the use of the flamethrowers and stuff like that, and just kind of the way some of this stuff is forming. But all of that, I think, is really, really cool. I like it all. Obviously, this is a part of the bond between Michael Madsen's character and Marge Helgenberger's characters because they're kind of in this moment together. But I like it. I think it's the scene in the movie where I'm just like, this is brutal. This is gnarly. I like everything that's happening here. Obviously, it doesn't feature Syl in any way, unfortunately, but the use of practical effects here, the tension, the kind of reveal of just how dangerous this thing is. Like this is like Syl is, dangerous enough, but this is what this thing is actually like, and it's horrifying. And that kind of raises the stakes for the movie in a way, because you're like, oh, this is what this is where we're headed.
Yeah.
If we don't stop
it's showing what Syl is capable of, not only herself, but creating and reproducing. And it sort of answers the question of like, well, why did she have to be half human? Why did they have to make it? Well, this is what it's like. If you don't contain this thing with the human DNA, it is an unstoppable, reproducing, killing tentacle
You're looking at the
machine.
Blob at that point.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. No, it's great for building up tension, because it starts with, they go in there to replace a camera inside the containment box where they are trying to start the process with a single cell. And then they realize that it's actually already multiplying. They each have a bolt to screw back into the lid, but Michael Madsen drops his bolt. It goes through the grate. So as this thing is growing, they have to get this bolt, but it's through the grate. He can't reach it. He can't lift the grate. It's welded. And then there's a 2-minute timer. In 2 minutes, the whole room gets torched. Like, they ratchet up the tension so well, they kill it, but it's actually not dead. He's got to rip off this hose with gas and use a flamethrower. Like, it escalates like 10 different levels throughout. Like, just a very well-written, self-contained action scene. It serves this narrative purpose, like we talked about, what our creature is actually capable of, why she has to be half human DNA, but still manages to be a thrilling action scene in its own right, and just really classic Alien stuff. Not just Alien franchise, but Alien on film. So I think this is a very good pick, Andrew. It might be the best written action scene of the movie. We'll get to the finale. There's some things I like about it, but you mentioned CG. Pretty much most of the movie is practical. There's a few small CG embellishments, but we see a lot of cool practical stuff until the finale, where we get a fully CG Syl in 1995. And it looks like it. It is maybe not quite Spawn level. Well, you know what? It's about on par with what you see in Spawn. So we'll get there. There's some stuff to talk about, some stuff we like there, but it's not what I'm going to pick as my favorite scene either. I'm going to go with the scene that I actually brought up a little bit earlier to bring up an example of Syl not just getting naked to seduce men. She has this little side story with after she fails to mate with one of her victims. Fully naked, she runs into the streets, jumps into the passenger seat of this woman's car, and she has learned to be very manipulative by now. She's like, please, you have to help me. And the woman's like, oh, what's wrong? We cut away. By the time we get back, we just see Syl driving her car. And we kind of just assume she dispatched of her to get her car. And then the next time we see Syl, she's having a nightmare, as we see throughout the movie. Then she wakes up startled in bed, and she sits up. Next to where she was sleeping is that woman tied up and gagged in the bed. And just how it's so funny. Funny is not the right word, but this woman was like up all night fearing for her life, and her captor is like having a nightmare next to her. And then when she sits up, she's like, do you have nightmares? Like, she's just asking her like very casually, and she's like, please don't kill me. And she's trying to just talk about, this is so weird that I'm having these nightmares, and I talk about a very psychopath behavior. Like, she's not registering at all that this person is fearing for her life or cares at all. And I like this bit here where we get some real body horror stuff, which, as weird as on paper there should be a lot of body horror stuff in this movie, but like most of it doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. Um, but this one here, where she like grabs some like pruning shears and holds it on her thumb and just slices her own thumb off, it's pretty gnarly. And we get, oh, here's a good use of CG. Her thumb grows back, and you see it grow through by the layers. Her bone regenerate, the muscles form around it, then find the flesh. Nice little trick there. And she like tosses the thumb in a bag, and we don't know why until there's a scene a bit later where she is driving this woman's car. She's in the car next to her, and she drives it into these electrical boxes, but she jumps out. There's a big explosion. She leaves the thumb nearby so they can test it and see that as an alien and put together that she fakes her own death. I don't know why I'm explaining it in such detail. She used this woman to fake her own death. So this little plot, I'm going to highlight as my favorite scene. It's kind of broken apart into 3 different scenes, but anytime we go back and check on her and this woman, I like it a lot because it is, I wouldn't say asking a lot of the audience, but it's laying out all the pieces without telling us exactly what she's doing until it all comes together. She cuts her own thumb off. We don't really know why. It kind of seems out of nowhere. We see her like clocking those electrical boxes at one point as she's out on the town. We don't really know why. We see her like filling up some tanks of gas, and we don't know why. And maybe start to put it together. But when it all comes together, it's very satisfying that it laid out all these pieces, and you're like, oh, this creature has been learning and planning and putting this together. I think the movie in general does a great job. There's a great visual language where you'll see her like watching someone shift gears and drive, and that's how she's able to learn how to drive. I don't want to get too distracted with other scenes, but this is one of my favorite examples of Sil learning, using skills, becoming more manipulative. And look, the seduction scenes are great. We'll talk about them, but I like that they don't solely rely on that. And she is shown to be conniving in other ways as well. So there you go. My favorite scene.
I think it's a good pick. I think you've got kind of a good encapsulation of the character here. So you said it all, man. I got nothing else to add.
Yeah, I said a lot there, but
you went for like 2 years. But
it's good stuff. But look, we got to talk about the seduction scenes too. I think we see her seduce 3 men in this movie, and one of them involves some pretty gnarly kills. So she's staying at a hotel, or a motel, I should say. She asks the guy, "Where do I find a man?" Just that deadpan delivery I was talking about earlier when I was talking about Natasha's performance. And he's like, "Oh, there's a nightclub around the corner." So she goes in there, and she sees a woman like hit on someone. "I'm late to my party. Can you drive me?" "Yeah, I'll take you anywhere, baby." She's like, "Okay, let me go to the little girl's room first." She follows this woman to the restroom, and sees her go into a stall. Sil leaves, and then we see this woman inside the stall. Sil breaks through the wall behind her, grabs her spine, and rips it out of her back. It is so gnarly. It's such a cool kill. Our team, when they find this woman, they're thinking that she's eliminating competition. Sort of they're trying to find all the motivations for these kills. So now she uses this method to hit on a guy. She walks out. She's literally just wearing a bra in the nightclub. She's like, "I'm late to a party. Can you take me?" And they leave. She studies him, learns how to drive. They go to his house. Real sleazy looking guy. Got like long, greasy black hair. I love when he walks into like his fancy house. He snaps his fingers to turn on the lights. Snaps again. Music starts playing. Just like it's so 90s. Like,
yeah,
the clapper type stuff. But yeah, he's hitting on her. She seems to be into it. He takes a shower. He encourages her to do so, but finally they get close, and she immediately like changes her mind. You see it come over her face. She's like, "Oh, I changed my mind. I want to leave." And the dude shows his true colors, and he's like, "No, you're already here. I'm not going to allow you to leave." And so she's like, "Okay, fine." She kisses him, and then her tongue rips through the back of his head. Super cool. Very maybe the most alien of this movie. I mean, using your tongue as a penetrative weapon to go through someone's head. Very alien, but very cool. Again, we learned when the team catches up that this guy was a diabetic, and she was able to suss that out once they got close, and that's why she changed her mind, because she did not want to reproduce with someone that had any flaws. But it's a great scene, and that's the first of, like I said, 3 seduction scenes I think that we get. But it's good. Some good gnarly kills, practical effects too.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I do like this scene. I think it definitely shows the level the character is moving towards, because obviously we're kind of past the kind of naive, almost innocence of the character. The curiosity is gone, and we're kind of the biological drive to like mate and reproduce now is taking over. But she needs it to be the right mate. So when she detects that he's, diabetic, which we don't even know for a while, we the viewer just know she rejects this guy. And then he obviously is trying to pull the whole like, you're not rejecting me. You came all the way here, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, all right, fine. And then she, bursts her tongue through his head, and the rest of us are just like, good.
Yeah, I'm okay with this.
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily agree with the overall motivation here, but this moment, I'm fine with it. But
yeah, diabetics deserve to die. That's what you're picking up on. That's what you are. That's the end, folks. Not of this episode, but this podcast. We're done. I've lost Andrew.
Oh God. I'm not dignifying that with a response.
This is me not responding.
It's not all diabetics. It's just the ones that try to commit sexual assault. Anyway. So the point simply being that like we are seeing new edges to this character at this point. This is the first moment where it feels like she's really like starting to like lean into the more sinister side of things. And that's where it starts getting, the character shifts, because there is this like empathy for the character, especially when it's like still in the Michelle Williams form, and when she first kind of emerges as the adult, there is this almost empathy that you feel for the character, as far as like, oh man, like you didn't ask for this, and that still maintains for a sense throughout most of the movie, where you're just like, oh, you didn't really ask for any of this, but the motivations start becoming more, I guess, primitive. Obviously, the motivation to just reproduce, that's a very kind of primitive instinct for the character. And then obviously the innocent people that start getting caught in the crossfire as well. Kind of that empathy erodes away, where you're just kind of like, all right, you've lost the sauce here a little bit. But this scene is a good example of that first shift, kind of showing that just when something starts getting in her way, like the culmination of sequences here, obviously what happens at the club into what happens at the house is starting to show that like, if you don't fit in with the plan, she's got no problem throwing you away. And that's when you know that the character has shifted into a different gear. And it's good stuff.
Yeah, the next potential mate she seduces, they come together in a pretty interesting way. She's walking on the street. She gets struck by a car, and the car drives away. It's very out of nowhere. But a bystander sees this, comes by, helps her get to a hospital. And he even goes back to the hospital to check on her. She's like, she didn't have any ideas. Want to make sure she's okay. She puts her tab on his credit card, which I don't think is really how hospitals work, but that's what he does. Slaps on his credit card and agrees to cover the charges, because you could just do that in 1995. When she leaves the hospital...
For a stranger, to be very clear.
Wild. She goes back with him to his place, and they he's being a good host. They take a picture together. He's getting her some food, and then she moves things along very quickly into the hot tub. She strips naked. He gets in. He's down to mess around, but she starts getting very aggressive, trying to take his pants off. So much so that this man is like, whoa, slow down.
Easy, bud.
Easy. And then I love this part because, again, she doesn't understand humans. She's like, come on, I want a baby. And, like, the idea of, like, having what you think is a one-night stand and the woman being like, let's make a baby is, like, so... What? But they get interrupted when the team shows up at this guy's house. They found him because he left behind his credit card information. And to stop him from screaming, she drowned him in the hot tub. So again, this guy certainly didn't quote unquote deserve it like the last guy did. But yeah, we're definitely at a point where the need to mate is sort of almost the only driving force at this point.
It's pretty much it's overriding everything else at this point. Like, she has these moments of like lucidity to an extent. Lucidity is not the right word, but like when she's talking to like the hostage that she's taken, and it's like, do you have dreams? Like, what is your purpose here? What is this? Like, when she has these like deeper questions that are being prompted by her existence that the movie doesn't really get a whole lot of time to dive into, and it doesn't spend a whole lot of time focusing on it. But it is nonetheless those moments where like they're trying to show that there's a little bit more going on here, because it's implying that like almost to an extent that the DNA comes coded almost to like is this just the nature of the other species? Is this just the drive of the character? Like, what is this? Is this
at one point
kind of higher motive or what? Oh, we don't really know.
At one point, what is our biologist names? Dr. Baker theorizes that she's like a biological weapon. Like, well, this would be a good way to like prune a species. She says maybe Earth is a weed they want to prune, is to send this information. In that way, it's very similar to Alien, which I'm running through my Alien lore. Like, is the goo that creates the xenomorphs, is that a biological weapon? Is it determined that sort of what it's certainly what it gets used as? But very similar. So pretty much her purpose is to assimilate or destroy all life on the planet. Or again, our doctor theorizes that might be what's going on here.
Yeah, it's a tough thing, and I don't know that it's explicitly called out in Alien that that's what it is, but it is the plot of Independence Day. Basically, they're coming to our planet to take it over. But it's who knows what the ultimate goal is, but because that's the thing, is all of it's just theorizing. We never really figure out like what the greater point is with what they're trying to accomplish, because we never find that out.
Yeah, which I think is
any of the sequels ever really. Not the movie needs to. It doesn't need to dive into that.
I like that it has these questions for you to chew on, but we're not driving to like. And they receive one more message from the aliens that explains it. Like, I don't know how you would really wrap it up with definitive answers, but I like that our killing machine has nightmares and is wondering about where she's from and is scared. And like, we don't need to resolve that. That just makes her more interesting. So
right. Like, you just get more layers to the character in that regard. And I think that, like you said, it makes it more interesting. And like, it's one of those things where like, there's definitely people who would be like, oh, this is a plot hole. And I'm like, no, it's not a plot hole. It's just because something in the movie is not resolved does not mean it is a plot hole, especially if it has no overall bearing on the immediate events of the plot, which who these aliens are doesn't factor into this at all. And maybe some of the sequels dive into what exactly this was. And maybe they do. I don't know. But it's not relevant here. Because there's not just them guessing, there's also what Syl is experiencing, and so it creates a very interesting experience for the viewer where we're just trying to piece it all together off of ideas, and even the person that is having the experiences still doesn't quite know what they mean.
Yeah, maybe it's explored in Species 2, but we'll never know. We have to watch Dead again.
We do, yes. So
then the last person
to watch one.
She manages to seduce is Alfred Molina. She just shows up in his hotel room. They all think that the alien is dead because of the whole switcheroo thing with the other woman. She's dyed her hair, so she looks a little different, even though they've never really seen her anyway. So Alfred Molina has his guard down. He's just like, oh, well, there's a beautiful woman in my room. why not? And this sort of, if you think that's maybe a hard pill to swallow, like, is sort of the whole purpose of his character's arc, where he liked the woman on the team, but he gets rejected, tries to pick girls in the bar, he gets rejected. He's obviously in a very lonely, sad place where he is willing to go along with this. And we have our final sex scene between the two of them. Andrew, I think I've said on this podcast before, I used to read a lot of movie reviews, usually Roger Ebert reviews. And I will have always remembered in Roger Ebert's review for Meet Joe Black that he makes a comment about the sex scene in that film that it's unique because the camera focuses on the male orgasm, which is usually the opposite of what we're focusing on. Usually we want to see the woman's reactions. And so that's always stuck with me. I was like, is that rare? That's not really something we see often. Okay. Well, Species is another example where we focus on the male orgasm. We get Alfred Molina's O-face here. And it does it for a narrative purpose. It does it to show that he is done doing what he does. And literally seconds later, while she is straddling him still, she feels her stomach, and she's like, wow, it already happened. And he's like, what? She's like, life. And he's like, oh. He's like, no, that's not. He's like laughing. She's like, no, feel, and puts his hand on her stomach, and apparently he can feel something moving around inside. But before he can really have any reaction, she gets these big spikes come out of her spine, Godzilla style, and next time we see her, she's breaking through the wall. But there you go. Species. Another example, along with Meet Joe Black, where we focus on the male orgasm during a sex scene. In case anybody at home is keeping count.
Thanks.
But this is going to lead us to our finale. The team shows up. Our empath was able to sense that the alien was having sex with Alfred Molina, but they show up too late. They chase her into the sewers where there's like this convenient crack in the wall from an earthquake that leads to an underground cavern, which is very clearly a movie set for our finale. They're in like this, this cavern with oil just sitting there. That's of course gonna light on fire and make our big finale. I don't really have any problems with anything I just said. Like, I'm fine with us getting to this location for the finale. I should also say, while they're in the sewers tracking her down, she's in full alien form at this point. Like, Natasha Henstridge is no longer in the film. Ben Kingsley gets killed here. She jumps out of the water and kills him. And for a lot of the stalking stuff, like, I think the alien form looks pretty cool. It's H.R. Geiger design. It's very xenomorph. Like, it's distinct. Like, it doesn't look exactly like it, but there's hallmarks of his design present here. We get flashes of it moving around the shadows, but it's a cool looking suit. But once we're in that cavern, a good 90% of the time you're seeing Syl. It's full CG. And again, it's 1995 CG. So this isn't just me saying practical's better than CG, even though I probably do feel that way. It's just not great CG. Like, I don't know what it'd be like to be sitting in a movie theater in 1995 and you see this. Are you blown away because it's groundbreaking, or is it jarring at the time? I don't really know, but certainly in 2025, you're like, man, you have a good looking suit right there. Like, I want to see more of that. So her, like, she's doing stuff you couldn't do practically, like crawling on the walls and the ceiling and moving super fast. But I think this is probably the main reason, #PP, that neither of us are picking the finale as the best or our favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where the CG wasn't quite there yet, but also, like you said, you've seen the glimpses of this practical costume, and you're just kind of like, why won't you just show me that? Like, give me that. That's what I want to see, is the practical costume that you have. Now, like you said, presumably it was limited in its function. They wasn't going to be able to do what they needed it to do. So they made a choice, and that's fine. You got to take your shots when you get them. You take your swings. And, but yeah, this unfolds, we have our big face off, with the final form of Syl, I suppose, the kind of primitive form that's kind of been hiding inside. They set her on fire. What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, and we should say she has an offspring. She's given birth already. We see this like young, naked little toddler boy.
They set that on fire too.
Yep, kill that thing too. I don't blame them. One of the wildest things.
This
This
anti-kid sentiment
here.
is just getting out of control, Chris. Like the people that are just anti-kid, it's reached a new level. And folks, we got to talk about it.
This movie does something wild though. There's a shot with Syl hiding in the pipes above the characters. Michael Madsen's walking underneath, and Syl, I should say, even though in a primitive form, she still has more or less the body of a female. She has breasts and nipples, and a tentacle shoots out of her nipple and wraps around Michael Madsen. It is wild.
It's about as H.R. Geiger as I could possibly imagine.
1,000%.
1,000%.
Yes.
Like just as about as on brand for that as you could possibly be. And I was that moment I was just like, yep, that tracks.
Yep. And that's that. I wish the finale is more weird stuff like that. Again, I don't want to harsh
Versus
this point too much, but
face-off.
Yeah. But there's some wild moments here, and then we get our big cliffhanger here. The team escapes. The alien Syl and her offspring are in the pool of fire, destroyed. But we see that a rat drags away one of the severed tentacles, and then we see that same rat launch its tongue out into another rat and eat it. So it's somehow been infected with the DNA, and I haven't seen the sequels, but I do know this is a cliffhanger that is not followed up on, but they are, of course, setting up potential for a sequel, keeping it open-ended, and I don't want to, not even that. I don't even think this necessarily is like, oh man, what are they going to do next? I think it's just that we didn't destroy the alien. It's sort of like a tragic finale, if you will, or doomed finale. Yeah. And
like the thing that we thought we did, we have not succeeded in.
I think that covers it, Andrew. But I do have a note I want to go back to real quick. It's one of my favorite line deliveries. It's from Ben Kingsley. They are in the hotel room she was staying in, and I believe it is our microbiologist that they find some blood in the bathroom, and she says, if she's menstruating, she's definitely capable of reproduction. And Ben Kingsley says, yes, I know. Like, you don't have to explain that to me. Like, I have to be a microbiologist.
We're not, he may not be a microbiologist, but he's not a friggin' idiot.
Yes, I know. It's good.
It's like, yeah. That's always one of my favorite line deliveries. Like, because it's a little bit of a subversion with that notion where, like, the expert character says something that's, like, sort of expert, but also that thing where it's like, yeah, everybody kind of knows that, but the people in the movie, thankfully, like, treat it just like a, yeah. Like, of course we know that. Like, why wouldn't we know that? Like, but also, like, I love the implication that, like, she presumes that this blood is from the alien human menstruating. It's like, how do you know that? Like, how do you know that's what it's from? Like, you have no idea. Like, it's a heck of a movie, and it really is. Like you said, it's almost it's another one of those like snapshots of just like another time where just like it really is this thing where like it was a very specific movie made at a very specific time. Like, this is the type of movie that if they made it now, it would be a late night thing or direct to video. Like, the fact that this was a theatrically released movie that made a good deal of money just feels like it kind of goes against the nature of what these types of movies usually are. And so in that regard, it is very interesting to go back and watch it and see that.
Yeah, I would love to see some sort of revival here. Like, we've already lamented the death of the $30 million movie, but one place that still thrives is horror movies, especially the quote unquote like elevated horror. The monster is actually the embodiment of a bad emotion type movies, but Blumhouse and A24,
sort of stuff,
there's plenty of like micro budget genre movies that are taken seriously, revolving on horror in some way. I think there's room there for some good old fashioned like sci-fi. Not even say sci-fi horror, but creature feature alien stuff. And like, you could do this for $35 million in 1995. You could do something even better for the same budget today. In whether it's practical CG or a hybrid, like I think, untapped potential there, and I would love to see us come back around to it.
I would agree. It's one of those things where you kind of think about, yeah, like like you said, the A24, the Neon to an extent, these kind of like, these $2 million movies that gross the even $20 million for a movie that cheap is a massive success, and it would be nice to get back to that, but it is. Some of it is just that the like you said, it kind of feels like it's all or nothing in a lot of ways, where like you either have to have a micro budget that can be almost successful by default, or you have to have a massive blockbuster that makes $1 billion, and it just feels like that nuance in between has kind of gotten lost, and then you end up with a lot of stuff that just gets dumped to streaming, because it's all about content now. It's all about making content and having content and pumping out content, and it's like, okay, I guess, but like you just lament, You're sad for what we had. You didn't, just wish we knew we were in the good days when we were in them. And it's tough. And I'm not ready for another existential crisis on back-to-back episodes, so let's get out of here.
All right, Andrew, one down, several to go. If you want to see the whole lineup, you know what you can do, listeners? You can hop into our Discord server. There's a link in our show notes. Come and join us, hang out with the community, talk about nerdy stuff, talk about movies, ones that we cover or otherwise. And yeah, you can see the lineup of movies we have coming up this month. You can leave some positive thoughts on those films. But Andrew, it's going to be a fun month. It's a good lineup here.
Yeah, I'm excited. We got some cool stuff here. A couple of things that we've kind of talked about doing for a while. And we're finally getting around to, and a couple of little surprises, some things that you might not have expected. And so I am excited to dive into it.
Andrew, this whole recording, I keep thinking that you're wearing a shirt with a face hugger on it. And not just because we're talking about species. Like, that's what it looks like. But I think it's a gold elephant of some... What is on your shirt, Andrew?
The gold elephant.
Okay. Is this from something?
The King Crimson offshoot band Beat, formed by Adrian Belew, former King Crimson member Adrian Belew, current King Crimson member Tony Levin, augmented by Steve Vai in place of Robert Fripp and Danny Carey in place of Bill Bruford, did a tribute tour of 80s King Crimson, basically, that Adrian Belew's wanted to do for a long time. So they called themselves Beat, which was the name of their second album. And went on tour, just released a live album of it that's very, very good. But this was the chosen iconography they chose for the band. So this is just the shirt from when I saw that.
Okay, cool.
Aren't you glad you all asked?
Kind of looks like a face hugger. I mean, I can't see the tusks in the camera, but you can see where I'm coming from here, right? Yeah, no, it's a cool. It's a pretty cool shirt. It's a pretty cool shirt. I like it. All right, Andrew. Well, it's time for Ask Andrew, and that doesn't count. That wasn't your question this week. This week, I'm going to actually go to that Discord for a question. If you want to leave...
I was getting off easy this week.
If you want to leave a question for Andrew, you can do so by asking it in the Ask Andrew channel, a secret channel in the Discord that Andrew himself cannot see. This week, our question is going to come from... oh boy, spooky month is here. It's from Mike Murderous Child's Doll Lynch. And here is his question. Ask Andrew. Gravity reverses on you, and you would slowly float to space without precautionary measures. You built an upside-down house to live at home normally, but you still need to go outside for certain things. How would you go about doing that, and what would you deem most important to leave your home for?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to die is what's going to happen. Like, it's like, because think about it, even if you're in your house and gravity reverses, because first off, what that would essentially mean is that everything, that Earth, rather than pulling everything towards itself, would suddenly start repelling everything. Now,
well, hang on. I think it's only reversed for you. Only you. That's why the house is...
me?
Yeah.
Why me?
Only you.
That doesn't make any sense. How would it be just me?
Okay. For more context, Roll in the Discord says, upside down house implies gravity has reversed, though. Is this the case? Or is he just in anti-gravity. Feels like an important distinction. Reverse gravity would be far more terrifying. Mike clarifies, if you were to suddenly float up off the ground and keep going till you reach space, what would you call that? Reverse gravity, I suppose. You actually fall on this planet, it's terrifying. Anti-gravity is a lack of gravity, so float in space. Does you float up, so then you gotcha. Okay, it goes on and on and on. And everyone agrees that it's terrifying. I interpret this as it's only happening to you. You still need to go outside of certain things. How would you go about doing it? I think it's only you. You built an upside down house, so you can live normally at home. Huh.
But I wouldn't really, would I? Because nothing else in my house is going to obey the reverse gravity except for myself.
Yeah, you got to nail your coffee table to the ceiling.
I would, yeah. Everything would need to be like firmly attached to every surface it's on.
Well, if gravity was reversed for everyone, then we as a society would reshape society to account for that. So, like,
no,
I don't think there's much. Yes, we would die, but like in the situation where that doesn't happen, if we manage to make it work.
Because you think about it, if gravity reverses, everything reverses, right?
I mean, gravity reverses. Like the soil of the ground is now going to, like, what happens? Does the Earth disintegrate? Like what?
Yeah. Like think about water alone. If the water that is currently being held
okay, so
down
that's
gravity,
why I think the question has to be just you. Gravity is just reversed for you, Andrew.
This is catastrophic.
It's terrible. But look, in this hypothetical scenario, you've managed to make a house that you can live in normally.
Whatever. Okay.
Don't think about it too hard. What do you leave in the house for?
Seatbelts on everything. Food? I have to eat. I guess I could have that brought to me technically, but I'd still have to like open the door, and that dude would be like, "Wow, why is this house upside down?"
I don't. And just ask Andrew, not ask Chris. But I can't think of any scenario where I'm risking leaving my safe home. Like I'm a hermit at this point. I live in my house. Everything is delivered. I don't know how I have a job or money. Study me for science, I guess. You know what? Maybe like some no. Say like submit myself to the government to be like a lab rat. That's probably miserable. I'll stay at my house.
Yeah, all of this sounds horrible. Like, what would I do? Like, so the base question is, what do I risk leaving my house for, knowing that I could just float into space and die?
That's it. Yeah.
That's the heart of the question.
Correct.
Nothing.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, do you have like monkey bars on your sidewalk so you can make it to your car, and then seatbelt in?
So what? I can float to the top of my car? Like,
you use your seatbelt.
Yeah, like it would need to I would essentially need to have a harness restraint system attaching me to every place that I ever went. Now, here's the question: like, gravity is reversed for me, which means that I am floating up. So, like, literally, if I grab like a 300-pound weight and attach it to a tether, and I just attach that to myself, then that will hold me to the ground.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like 300 pounds, right, man? What? I guess it has to be more than...
I'm just going over my own weight to make sure.
Yeah,
hypothetically speaking, if it weighs less than me, I could pick it up hypothetically with gravity. I don't know that it works that way.
Just like a super weighted vest.
Yeah, like do I just wear like a two, like, but then, like, you know, I can't wear a 200-pound vest. It's like, that would be miserable. Like, I can't. The reality at the end of the day is you're asking a much more simple question, which is basically, hey, if your life became physically miserable to exist in, would you want to keep doing it? And I don't know that the answer to that question is suitable for this podcast.
So what would you leave your house for? For one last glorious skydive. Just whee until you burn up and you don't
I would freak out. I would freak out every single person on the planet by just flying through the sky to my death. Like, wow, that guy's flying up there. What do you think's going to happen? It's like, he's about to die.
Would you live stream it?
Sure.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the reality is, I'm going to go up, and like, I'm not going to know what happens. I'm going to pass out from lack of oxygen way before I ever burn up in the atmosphere.
That's true.
Like, it's about as peaceful a death as you can get, and I get to watch the world pass by, and I get to look down and be like,
would you do it?
I disappointed you,
Andrew? Would you do it dressed as Superman? Live out your dream.
wouldn't disrespect the man like that.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. What a wild question,
Guys,
Mike.
stop making me think about my own mortality and the way I've disappointed the world.
He
Stop.
probably thought, "Oh, this is a fun, quirky question," and of course, you're like, "I would die." Like, yeah, that's just where you take every question that we ask you now. What's your favorite movie?
I would.
Pick a favorite movie. I'd rather die, Chris. All right. If you want to ask Andrew a question, you can leave it in the Ask Andrew.
Guys, let's lighten this
channel.
up, please, for the love of God. Like, for the love of God, let's.
What's
lighten the
more?
mood,
What
you know?
lights it up more than making you so light you float into space, Andrew?
I hate you.
Leave us some future questions. That was a lot of fun. Come back next week for the next sci-fi horror film from the 90s. What is it next? We can tell the people. What is it next week, Andrew?
It is Sphere.
I'm so excited. This has been on the list for a long time. We considered a Michael Crichton month based on a book month. I've been wanting to get back to this movie. It's a childhood favorite of mine that I haven't revisited in a long time, but I enjoyed the movie. I really liked the book. I'm excited to dive back into this one, Andrew.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast. I do like. I've read the book. I like it a lot, so I'm excited to dive into this movie. And I've been rewatching a couple of other Michael Crichton adaptations recently. I got the Arrow 4K of Andromeda Strain, so I've watched that as well. So I'm primed. I'm ready.
That's next week, and until then, just remember that maybe not every movie is great.
But all movies have greatness.
Thank you to Mark Benavides for singing our theme song. Check him out on Instagram at NotThatMarkAnthony. Thanks to Mitch for the music. You can follow him on Blue Sky and check our show notes for his SoundCloud link. Check out our store on TeePublic for some Best of the Rest merch. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. That's the only way that we grow. Follow us on social media at BOTRcast. Thank you.